time at your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Welcome to today's community comment and a very special guest, along with Kevin Haugen.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. Welcome into today's community comment. I am your host, Kevin Haugen. It is my pleasure to welcome in our guest on today's program, Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt. Sheriff, thank you so much for coming in this afternoon.
Happy to be here as always.
All right, if you have a question for the sheriff, you can call the number at 887-9595. I was waiting for that to pop up because I do not have it memorized, so thank you, Ninja, for getting that number up as soon as I was ready to announce it. Or you can call 885-4446 during our program this afternoon if you, again, have a question for the sheriff. But, Sheriff, it's been a little bit since we haven't had an opportunity to chat. I was gone for a couple weeks this past month on paternity leave, but it's great to see you again. And, you've been a busy couple of weeks for you guys at the sheriff's office.
It sure has, and Wade did an okay job of filling in for you while you were gone.
He did. He was serviceable?
Yeah, he was serviceable.
Right, so I don't have to worry about getting replaced.
He doesn't quite have the glowing personality that you do.
Well, that's great. Yeah. I'm glad he was able to fill in.
And
but
you can tell him I said that.
I'll let him know.
Yeah.
I'll let him know you said that. But we have a lot to get to on the program this afternoon, so we'll dive right into it. But again, one of the big things we'll get to eventually, we'll most likely hit on this in our second segment for anyone who's probably tuning in to hear just us talk about the press conference that you held a couple weeks ago to discuss an ongoing investigation into the Waupun prisons. We'll hit on that at some point. So if your calls or questions or calling in about that topic, we will get to that at some point. But we have a few things we want to hit on first before we get to that topic here later in the program. But
that's what they call in the radio world a tease.
That's exactly correct. See, hey, you know the lingo already.
See, there we go.
Fantastic. Yeah. So again, we'll hit on that topic in just a little bit here on the program. But up first, we want to highlight an important thing that I think some people tend to forget. I feel sometimes I forget when I'm walking down the street or on a bicycle, and that's which side of the road is the correct side. There is a correct and an incorrect side to be walking on or biking on the road, and we just want to make sure we highlight that and remind people out there which side they should be on.
Yeah, so I was on my way to the radio station a couple weeks ago, as a matter of fact, and there was a little girl who was riding her bike on Wayland Street, eating an ice cream cone, riding her bicycle, and she comes up over the railroad tracks, and I see she's biking on the left side of the street, her left side of the street. And so I pulled up next to her, got out, had a conversation with her, and she wouldn't shake my hand because her hand was sticky from the ice cream, which I appreciated. But she was a nice, sweet little girl, but I told her, listen, when you're riding a bicycle, you have to be riding on the right side of the street. An easy way to remember it is if you're on wheels, you're on anything that is on wheels, you do the same thing as a car. Whether that's driving on the right side of the street or that's stopping at a stop sign. A lot of kids don't recognize that either. When you're riding a bicycle, you can't blow a stop sign. And I can actually write somebody driving a bicycle a citation for failure to obey sign, just like if you're driving a car. So you have the same exact rules of the road on a bicycle as you do in a car. Can't exceed the speed limit either on a bicycle. That seems a little out there, but now you've got electric bikes that maybe going through a 15-mile-an-hour school zone. Same thing applies. You have to make sure you follow all the rules of the road when you're on a bicycle. Now, when you're walking, however, you're going to be on the opposite side. When you are on your feet, you are always walking on the left side of a street or roadway. Now, if there's a sidewalk, please be in the sidewalk. But say there is no sidewalk, or you're out in the country and you're walking, you always walk on the left side. And some people might ask, why is that? Why do you want to do that? Well, when you're walking, you want to be able to see that traffic coming at you, and if something's going to veer towards you, you want to be able to jump off to the side, get out of the way of that traffic. That's the rationale behind it. Somebody could say, well, you can do the same thing for the bikes, right? Yes, but you have it's different. When you're riding a bicycle, you can't just dart to the left quickly. That's the first thing. But the other thing is if you're riding a bicycle, you're probably riding at a speed of about 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 miles an hour. Your closing speed with that vehicle coming towards you intensifies any potential injuries. So let's say I'm in a 25 mile an hour zone. I'm going 25 miles an hour. The bicycle coming at me is going 10 miles an hour. that closing speed is 35 miles an hour. You have significantly increased the impact, the potential damage to the bicycle, the potential injury or death because of that closing speed. If you're on the right side of the road with the rest of the traffic, your closing speed actually is the opposite. Say I'm going 25 miles an hour and the bike is going 10 miles an hour, the closing speed is 15. Significantly less. It's safer for you to be over there. You should be paying attention to what's going on with traffic. If somebody's coming up from behind you, certainly veer off. Yeah, you're not going to see it. They've got mirrors for that you can put on bicycles. I know they're not cool, but I had one when I was a kid. But it's what the law requires is when you're walking, you're on the left side. When you're on wheels, you're on the right side. And we need people to teach their kids that. It is, believe it or not, the safest way to handle it, and that's what we want. We want our kids and adults who are on bicycles to be safe. Helmets are a great idea to be worn and can help as well. But just obey those traffic laws just as if you're driving a car.
Yeah. And maybe just not off topic, but maybe in the same vein, but a little different in the same kind of vein of this topic here is, say you're driving down a rural road and you see a bicycle, biking ahead of you, and a lot of times they are in the middle of the road. And is there sort of any rules or regulations that bike needs to move over, or the traffic need to what's the correct way to handle that?
So that actually applies to all traffic. It's not just bikes. It's bikes, it's trucks, it's tractors, whatever it is. You cannot impede traffic by slow speed. So if you're driving a bicycle, you should be on the right side of the road at all times. But let's say you're going to be making a left-hand turn. You need to go over to the center line to make your left-hand turn. You need to do so at a time that isn't going to impede traffic by slow speed. So let's say you're driving down, let's pick out University Avenue, and you're driving down University, and you need to be next to that curb at all times so traffic can go around you. If you are out in the middle of the lane and slowing down traffic, you can receive that speeding citation of impeding traffic by slow speed. So always be over by that curb. But now you need to make the left turn onto Bogert Street. You get over by that center line just like you would with a car. Make sure there's no traffic coming, merge over, and then make that left-hand turn. Then it's okay to be out there. But typically, you should be by the curb or to the right side of the road.
Because sometimes I haven't seen it a lot, but once or twice here in the city, I've seen some people like drive on scooters or vehicles that are obviously a little faster than bikes, but not as quite fast as cars, and are not quite hitting that 25 mile per hour speed limit, and they are not directly in the center, but enough where it's just tough to pass them on that side. Would that still constitute impeding traffic or does it really depend about how much traffic's building up behind them, or is it kind of a judgment call at that point?
It is a judgment call. If you have traffic building up behind you, when you're on a bike, you really should find a way to let them go by you.
Yeah.
If one car is behind you for a very short period of time, okay. Yeah, but let's say you're coming up. If you're on a double yellow line there and there's no passing zone, you're going slower than 1/2 the speed limit on a bicycle. Typically, you can still pass as long as it's safe to do so. So if you're over on that right side of the road, typically you're not going to impede traffic. You just need to make sure that you're over there so traffic can get around you. Just do your best to not allow that traffic to back up behind you. And then the other people that are out there driving need to remember also to be careful around those bicycles and around those people walking. Remember, the law when you're passing a bicyclist is you have to make sure there is at least 3 feet between you and that bicycle that you're passing. That's not nearly enough, so make it more, but that's the minimum. And slow down when you're approaching those bicycles, and you never know, are they going to make a quick left turn and not see you? You don't want to accidentally run into somebody who has done that. Yeah. So be very careful around those bicyclists. It's summer now. You got a lot of kids out there. It's beautiful weather out. People going down to the splash pad, whatever it is. You got to be watching out for those especially those little ones that are hard to see.
Yeah, another one that a topic we want to highlight here for more on the vehicle side, car side of things, and making sure people follow signs that are posted, and that's road closure signs. And it's big again. Summer comes along, and more people are out, crews are out working on roads, and more roads are being closed. And when that sign is up, road closed, that doesn't mean you can just sort of drive by and sort of drive slow. It means that road is closed.
Right. It is. Absolutely. That's the best way to think of it.
Yep.
I had calls yesterday from the town chair in the town of Elba. We had a conversation about what's going on 16 and 60. They've got a bridge closed. There's a lot of traffic that are avoiding or going around those road closed signs. We did some heavy traffic enforcement down there yesterday. We will continue to do so in hopes of trying to get people to recognize they can't drive around those road closed signs. This morning we had some people up by Leroy. There's construction crews up there, and they are trying to get their job done, and they couldn't. They actually called us and said there's so much traffic coming through, we cannot operate and do our job. So we had to send staff up there. We actually sent our partners, DCERT, up there to help with some of that traffic flow and making sure that you can't drive here if it's a closed road. And what's confusing is it says road closed to through traffic.
Correct.
So what does that mean? Road closed to through traffic means you cannot drive on that road if you are not directly on that section of road. Not 2-3 blocks down, on that next block. If you are not going to a home, going to a business, going to something on that one block, you can't drive on that road. So the only people that should be going there are on that section of road, that block of road, are people that have a residence or a business or something they're going to. Otherwise, you're in violation of state statute, and you could receive a citation for failure to obey a sign. And those construction workers are begging you, please avoid those closed roads. They can't do their jobs. How would you like it if somebody drove through your place of work? And it makes it more dangerous for them, and they can't get their job done. It takes longer to get the job done. Yeah. So please follow those signs. My staff will write you citations.
And a big one you mentioned is safety. That a lot of workers and the crews out there, they're not expecting traffic to be moving down that road because signs are posted that it's closed. And for people who ignore those signs and drive down those roads, it could end up causing a serious accident and end up hurting one of the people working on those roads. You mentioned that drivers, if they do disobey that sign, they could get a citation. Is there a fine associated with that then, or demerit points against the license?
I believe it's a $200.50 citation. Citations, some of them just went up here recently. The state changed the deposit schedule. I'm not sure if that's one of them, but 4 points against your driver's license, I believe, as well. So it's something people need to be aware of. Failure to obey sign is the same citation as you get for not following a stop sign.
Yeah. And maybe just a quick follow-up question on that topic. Say it's a lot of times your crews are working on a road, and it's they have a set time from like 7 in the morning till 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night, and it's past that window of time. The signs are still up, but there's no crews out there actively working. If a sheriff squad, a deputy sees or a police officer sees a car still drive on that road past that window of time when crews are working, is that still something that they could be written up for?
Yes, it's still a closed road. It's closed because all the safety precautions aren't in place. There might not be pavement. There might not be markers. It's closed for a reason. And so, yes, it does not matter if they're working or not. If you're going through a construction zone that is open, certainly it matters if there's construction workers there or not, because that's fines then double. But in a closed section of road, no, it doesn't matter. That road is closed from the time the sign goes up till the time the sign comes down.
Yeah, and again, people can head to, I believe it's 511, the DOT, and they can find out road closures and detour signs posted before if they're going on a trip or vacation or anything. They're hitting the road. They always recommended to plan so you're not having to drive through or get frustrated that you can't drive your normal route. They always prefer people to plan ahead so they're not running into that problem.
Right, and we have county roads posted on our Dodge County website. If you go to the Highway Department website, it shows all the county roads that are closed, so that you can plan that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Another holiday here that's coming up here in just a couple of weeks is 4th of July, and around that time of year, people like to set off fireworks. And every time you're on during this time of year, we always have a very fascinating conversation because it's something that I really didn't realize until I had the opportunity to talk to you about this, and that's fireworks are not technically legal to be setting them off on your property. They are illegal to essentially light off. Yeah. But people will still set them off and will hurt themselves. And maybe let's start off with just the whole conversation piece behind the legality of purchasing fireworks, setting them off. What's there to know about that?
So before I go into any of this, I want to say that Independence Day is an awesome day, and I love fireworks. All right,
Who doesn't love fireworks?
We all love to watch fireworks. It's a great holiday, a great celebration of our independence, and I'm not against fireworks, but the legalities there. As a sheriff, I need to share what they are, and we've seen a lot of people that have gotten hurt because of fireworks. So the legalities are, if it goes in the air and it makes a loud bang, it's illegal. It's basically bottom line what it is. Sparklers are all good. You can wave sparklers around all day and be fine. It'd be great for you. This year with a brand new baby, absolutely. Sparklers are great. But if it goes up in the air and makes a bang, it is technically illegal. Now, well, Sheriff, what about those little certificates you get from the stands that say, hey, it's legal? Well, those give the person permission to sell it. It does not give you permission to possess it. Well, some of them do. I shouldn't say that. Sell and possess it within that municipality. So let's say, I'll just pick one, the town of Beaver Dam, not the city. The town of Beaver Dam has a stand. And the town of Beaver Dam, and I don't know that they have this, so I'm not saying they do, but they authorize somebody to have a stand, and they give them permits to issue. That is a permit to sell it and possess it within the town of Beaver Dam. Not within the city of Beaver Dam, not within the town of Burnett, not within the town of Oak Grove, or anywhere else, because they don't have authorization to do that. You can possess that within the municipality which you possess it, or which they sell it to you. That's it. Possess it. It does not give you permission to shoot it off. It does not give you permission to do anything else with it. And once you cross that municipality line, you are no longer legally allowed to have possession of it according to the law. In order to shoot these off, you need to go to the municipality which you live and say, I would like to shoot off these fireworks. Can I have a permit from you to do that? I will tell you that the 99% of the municipalities in our county and our state will not do that, so because there's no training that goes along with it and others. Now, I've asked others in the legislature to take a look at this to see if there's something we can do, because it happens. But there hasn't been a whole lot of interest to attack this one for whatever reason. I would love to find a legal way to do this, because everybody's breaking the law. But that is the law as is written. That's not the law according to me. That's the law according to the state of Wisconsin, and those are the laws that I have to enforce.
Yeah, and for those people who still go out and buy fireworks and set those off. I feel like it doesn't happen a lot, but there's been once or twice in my time here reporting the news here in Dodge County where we will get a press release from your agency saying that somebody was severely hurt setting off a firework. Usually it's involving a hand injury or some sort of burn-related injury. But what's some safety recommendations that you do give out there? I know it's kind of a weird topic again to get to, because we're not encouraging people to essentially break the law and set these off, but we want people to be safe and not hurt themselves.
Well, as you're out there lighting off your sparklers, I encourage everybody. Safety glasses are a great idea. Having gloves on is a great idea to make sure that you protect yourself from getting burned. A lot of times what we see is alcohol use with it. That's never a good idea. I know we like to celebrate with fireworks and alcohol. Ooh, that's fun, but it's not a safe thing to do. But the other thing is making sure that you are aware of your surroundings. I've seen fireworks tip over. They set on a picnic table, they tip over and they start shooting at people. All kinds of different things. So using protective equipment to keep yourself safe. Don't let kids light any fireworks, even sparklers. Adults, make sure that you're doing that, and keep it well controlled. Those are the safety tips. The biggest safety tips: protective clothing is number one. But the other thing, and I'm sure we'll get into the complaints portion of it, is making sure that your neighbors are okay with what's going on and upsetting the neighborhood. That's a big problem that we have as well.
Yeah, and that was the next question I was going to bring up here, Sheriff, is I'm sure the dispatch center gets an influx of phone calls from people out here in the public around the 4th of July because of complaints of people setting those off. And what is recommend? I mean, you don't want people to say, "Oh, stop! Don't call this in," or But what should people do if they're setting these off and they're annoyed or frustrated and they want to report this? And what does a deputy do when they get those reports?
Over the next couple of weeks, we are going to receive hundreds of fireworks complaints. Hundreds. I'm not exaggerating that. Our dispatch center is going to be inundated with phone calls from neighbors, from citizens who are irritated with, it's late at night. I need to be sleeping. My dogs are barking. This is happening every single night. I can't get any sleep. It's constantly banging. And so we get these complaints, and our dispatch center is inundated. So we are actually going to be a little more proactive with putting this information out this year. We tried last year. Summer Flash, my support staff, is working on a post that's going to be coming out here this weekend about how to report fireworks complaints. And it's really simple. All you need to do is pick up your phone, download our app, and that was really good, Ninja, getting that up there like that. Download our app, and you can file an incident report right on the app. And a fireworks complaint is one of those things. So I encourage everybody right now, if you have an inkling that you might have to file any kind of a complaint, not just fireworks complaint, but download our app from our Apple Store, from the Google Play Store. Dodge County Sheriff is what you're searching for. It's got our star right on it. And then file that incident report. It sends a notification to our dispatch center. If they're in the middle of a crash or domestic or a fire or something else going on, they will get to it, but they don't have to field your phone call along with 10 other phone calls for fireworks while they're dealing with other incidents. It'll be a notification that comes to them. They will be able to dispatch it out by priority as soon as they're able to get to it. Every single fireworks complaint we get, we dispatch a deputy or an officer to, depending on the municipality. And then it's up to the different individual municipalities how they handle those firework complaints. My staff will go out, they will investigate, they will, just like they do on any other incident. Certainly we're looking for compliance. Our goal is not just to go out and write a bunch of tickets. If we have people that are not going to comply, we will get to the point of having to issue citations because there is county ordinance, state statute about fireworks complaints. So that's how we'll handle it. And again, if you're in one of the municipalities, they will handle it the way that they deem appropriate. But every single one of those fireworks complaints will be answered. People say, well, why do you care, Sheriff? Why do you do that? Something that a lot of people don't understand, and sometimes I have to remind my staff of this, is when somebody makes a complaint, whether that be they were just beat up or we have a fireworks complaint, that complaint is important to that person. It might not necessarily be important to the deputy who is taking it or to a neighbor or somebody else in the community, but to that person, that complaint is important, and we need to take that complaint seriously and handle it just as we would any other complaint. So yes, somebody has made a complaint. We are going to follow up on it. We are going to go to those residences, and we are going to say, hey, what's going on, and investigate it. So that's how we are going to handle it. Again, go to our app, download that app ahead of time so you have it on your phone, and then you'll have all of our press releases and all of the information that we put out as soon as it comes out. It's a great app to have, and so that's how we would like you to handle it. Please help our dispatchers out. They're very, very busy. Yeah. We don't have 12 dispatchers sitting there at any given time. Typically, we have 3 or 4 dispatchers handling all calls for service throughout the entire county. And if you can pick up your phone and type it in on the app and give them a little bit of a reprieve from the nonstop phone calls, and they can triage it as is necessary, they would very much appreciate it so that they can deal with those more pertinent issues right now when it's happening and deal with the fireworks as soon as they're able to.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. Would that be a separate option entirely to click on the app itself for fireworks complaints? So because I believe there's already a complaints option to submit that on the app, or is that where that'll live?
It's in the same place.
Same place.
It's in the very same place. If you go into your app, it's very simple. On the upper right hand, or it's kind of in the middle page, but one of the upper right hand icons is incident report. And if you select incident report, there are all kinds of different report types, from abuse to neglect, accident, animal, battery, burglary, all kinds of different complaints. Fireworks is one of them. You select the most appropriate one, even submit a tip. There's all kinds of different reports that you can do it. We ask, it can be anonymous, but anonymous complaints are hard to follow up on. So if we ask for personal information, a name and a phone number so we can contact you if we've got questions, you can still remain anonymous if you want to, even putting it on there. But it's helpful to follow up and then give us some details about what's going on. You can even upload images. If you want to take some nice pictures of the nice fireworks, you can upload the image right on the app and send that along with your submittal. It's a fantastic tool available for everybody.
Again, if you have a question for the sheriff, you can call in at 885-4446. We do have a caller on line 1. I want to welcome them on to Community Comment.
Hey, Kevin. First, I'd like to say congratulations.
Thank you very much, Rich. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And good luck going forward. They can be a handful.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work, but I'm adjusting.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of fun times, too. Anyways, Dale hit on a good subject, but I'd like to follow up on that a little bit. When you were talking about the bicyclist, can you also tell the bicyclist to look out for pedestrians? Because now I want to know who would be at fault on this, because a few weeks back, of course, this is happening out on Madison Street, close to
I knew you were going to bring up that intersection.
Yeah, it was at night. It was dark, probably 10:30ish.
Sure.
I'm walking back towards Beaver Dam, but I was walking on the wrong side of the street because I was walking with the traffic.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I see this headlight coming at me. I'm like, what the, you know what? And I had a holler, and it was a bicyclist. And at the last second, he hollered something, and then he turned his wheel just in time to not hit me. But when he turned his wheel, it caught my knee. I got a bruise, no major deal. He kind of went forward on his bike. Now, if one of us really would have gotten hurt, who would have been at fault? Because both of us were wrong. I was walking. Yes, I had to walk in the street because of no sidewalk, but I was walking with the traffic instead of against it, and he was riding his bike against the traffic. Against the traffic. So we were both in the wrong. You're
right. And that's how it would be. That's how it would shake out. If two people are both in the wrong, both would be in violation of the appropriate statutes. He would. I'd have to look up what if there's an actual penalty for walking on the wrong side of the street. I don't know if there's an actual penalty. There is a citation for operating left of center, which would apply for the bicycle. So to answer your question, is both would be at fault, and liability-wise, you both would be at fault. But certainly, it could have been avoided if you both would have been on the correct side of the road.
Right. But he was on, you said the center line, but he was on the side of the road by the curb.
That's what I'm saying. So he'd be operating left of center.
Could he have gotten a ticket for that?
So he would have been operating left of center, which would be a violation of law. Remember, as I said, just like you can't drive a car on the left side of the center line, right, you can't drive a bicycle on the left side as well. So you can receive a citation for operating left of center when you're driving a bicycle.
Good. I'm glad you put that out there, so maybe the bicyclists will be more aware now.
Yeah. Hopefully parents can teach their kids about that.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll watch out for the pedestrians a little bit more.
Absolutely. Wear light-colored clothing and walk on the right side, Rich, and you'll be okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Have a good day.
All right, thanks.
I should say walk on the left side.
Yes.
On the correct side, which is the left side. Yes.
It gets a little weird when you have to lay it out like that, but the right side is the left side if you're walking.
We're making it worse.
Yeah, we're not helping at all. But again, thank you for the phone call, Rich. The number to get onto the program today is 885-4446. You can also text 887-9595 if you have a question for the sheriff, who is our guest on Community Comment here this afternoon. We do have to take a quick break. More Community Comment is coming up next. 103 on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Welcome back into our second segment of Community Comment this afternoon. My guest on the program this afternoon is Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt. If you have a question for the sheriff while he's on our program today, again, you can call in at 885-4446. Or you can text 887-9595. And I want to thank Jeff for a very good choice for bump music coming back in for break with I Fought the Law. It's very appropriate.
Well, we've worked on that for a few months, but having an old grizzled veteran like Jeff Hall that can pick out the right one, I think we finally got one.
I think we may have gotten a winner with that choice, so maybe we'll hear that one again.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We have a couple more topics here we want to get to before we eventually dive into the elephant in the room that is the Waupun prison press conference that was held just a couple of weeks ago. But we want to highlight ongoing hiring and people looking to hire people for the Dodge County Sheriff's Office. Just a little bit ago, your agency sheriff put out a little press release looking to hire a patrol lieutenant. And just where are things at right now with staffing, and talk a little bit about trying to fill the patrol lieutenant position.
Our patrol division is doing very well as far as staffing. We're pretty close to being full right now. We got a couple people in field training. I believe we've got a couple backgrounds out, but we're almost back to full staff. We've had a lot of retirements, and we've had three, in fact, of our deputies who have had their wives get really good jobs, one in Maine, one in Florida, one in Arizona in the last year. And what do you do? Your wife says, "Hey, I want to move somewhere else because I got a great job." You go, right?
Yep.
And three excellent employees that we lost as a result of that, and then we had some retirements, and so we've been trying to make up and catch up, and we're getting very close. But when we switched to 12-hour shifts, we had one additional lieutenant position because there are 4 shifts rather than 3, and we've, as everywhere is struggling, we're actually in a pretty good place as far as recruitment and retention goes here. Everybody, sheriffs across the state are talking to me about how they're struggling with filling their staff. And this is one position we've struggled with getting. A lot of our staff are young. We've got some good potential there for lieutenants in the future, but they come. Sheriff, I'm not ready to make that step, and I understand that. They want to do their job, be more comfortable, and so we've struggled here this year in filling that 4th lieutenant position. So what we're looking for is really a current law enforcement officer who is in a supervisory position, who's had some supervisory capabilities and experience, that can come in and run one of our night shifts. We work four 12-hour shifts, 4 on, 4 off. And they get a take-home car. They have excellent Wisconsin retirement. We just made them non-exempt employees, which means they're hourly now. They'll be eligible for overtime, which I know has been a big hang-up. Is patrol deputies and other agencies don't necessarily want to lose that overtime capability, and now our lieutenants are eligible for that. So unfortunately, we've had 3 processes here, and we're on our 3rd process here, and we're hopeful that we can bring in the right candidate. That's the other piece of it, is making sure we have the right person. We've had applicants, but I don't just pick applicants just because they're the only applicant. I want to make sure that we have the right person for that job because it is a leadership job, and so we're not filling it just for the sake of filling it. But we are looking for qualified individuals who might be interested in a higher level management position at the sheriff's office. A lot of opportunities, a lot of things you can get involved with, and looking for somebody who's self-motivated, because they're really going to be on their team or that shift commander by themselves, and we're really eager with the non-exempt status that hopefully we can get some more candidates to fill that soon.
And people can head to the Dodge County Sheriff's Office app to learn more, or the website if they want to get some more information about the open positions or how to apply and what the qualifications are.
Yeah, we've got it on our website, we've got it on Facebook, we've got it on our app. The Dodge County website, on the very top, there's a careers link. You can go there to fill it out to apply. I believe the wage range is in the mid 40s, low to mid 40s per hour. It's a good wage, good benefits, and really we just had our most recent swearing-in ceremony, and the feedback we've gotten from our staff is it's just an incredible place to work. So much fun, and the team atmosphere that we have right now is better than we've ever seen it before.
Again, the number to get on the program this afternoon is 885-4446. We do have a couple callers on the line. Let's head to line 1 and welcome the caller on to Community Comment.
I'm not sure. Is that me?
Yeah, you're caller 1. You're on Community Comment.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was 1 or 2. So, anyways, I have a couple questions in regards to license plates and stickers and such. When you get those cameras that take pictures of our vehicles with their license plates, do they take only the front, only the rear, or a combination of both?
It takes a picture of the plate that we can see as you're driving by it. Typically, the license plate cameras don't pick up the license plate on the other side of the road. Typically, it's only one side of the road because it gets a little bit too skewed. Not saying all the time, but typically it'll just get maybe the rear camera if you're driving past it.
And I was just curious as to maybe that's why there's so many people that don't put the front license plates on their vehicles, because you see an awful lot of that with no front plates on the vehicles.
Yeah, we do make traffic stops for that. That's been a problem for my entire career. 20 plus years of doing this, it has always been a problem. It has nothing to do with those cameras. It's just some people don't want to put them on the front of their cars, and we have deputies who make that a primary reason for why they stop cars, really looking for other things. But that is a violation of the law, and you still, if you are issued 2 plates, you have to have 2 plates, and some people are just stubborn about it.
And then I have another question in regards to when you place stickers on a vehicle.
Okay.
So if an officer comes across a vehicle that it's expired, they should have the current year, on there, and they don't. And if he runs the plates and he sees that they are actually, they have made the payment, but they just neglected to put the sticker on, is he then more apt not to pull him over, or?
That's up to the law enforcement officer. I would say likely you probably won't be stopped. If you're expired, a good chance you're going to get stopped. But if you just don't have the sticker, chances are it might not be a stop. Some people may still stop, but as long as we know it's registered, that's the main thing. But it is still a violation. Even if you're registered, if you don't have the sticker on your license plate, it is a violation of the law. You have to have that on there.
And then you also see these brackets to hold the license plates, and you can't even see the stickers at all.
I know it. That also, if it obscures any part of that license plate, even where it says Wisconsin Dairyland, if it obscures any part of that license plate, that's a violation. So most of those frames that are on there are not legal.
Well, you've answered my questions, and there's a lot of people getting away with that kind of stuff then, because
we have those conversations daily with people. So it's not that they always get away with it, but we have those conversations with them.
Okay, well, thank you because
Sure.
I was just curious about that stuff. So
Good question.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I want to thank for the phone call here on Community Comment. Let's head to line 2 and welcome this caller on to Community Comment.
Good afternoon. Thanks for your service, Sheriff.
My pleasure.
I've got a question on the Highway 60 closure.
Okay.
Highway 60 has signs up at Highway 26. Those signs say road closed 9.5 miles ahead. So is that road closed from Highway 26 all the way through, or not until we get to BB?
It says road closed 9.5 miles ahead. That means it is closed in 9.5 miles. Those are put there because the detour for DOT actually is a quite lengthy detour. It actually goes all the way up to 33 and across down 151. That is so those semi-truck drivers know that, hey, I need to follow the detour route. People that aren't from the area know they should be following the detour route. It is once you get to the actual sign where it says road closed with no 9.5 miles ahead, that is where it applies. So until you get there, you're fine if you're a local traffic. But it's basically, like I said, there to make sure that individuals use that detour that are going through.
Right, because otherwise you'd have to have some sort of signage at every crossroad, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Well, thank you again for the phone call. The number for the program today is 885-4446, or you can text 887-9595 to get on Community Comment today to ask a question of the sheriff. And we only have around 15 or so minutes left, and I believe we just got another call came in right as I was giving out the phone numbers, so let's head back to the phones and welcome caller on line 1 on to Community Comment.
Yeah, me?
Yep, your caller. You're on line one.
Okay. My license plate, my rear license plate, the paint is coming off, and like the third number and the first two letters are just like, the paint is coming off. And is it like my responsibility to go to the DMV and get a new license plate, or?
You got it. That's exactly what you need to do. You cannot, once your plate starts peeling, those letters come off, it is your responsibility to make sure that plate is properly maintained. And so, yes, you do need to go to the DMV and ask to get a new license plate. I understand it's a fee to do that, but every once in a while you got to do maintenance on the car, and a license plate is no different.
Yeah. I know. My front one is okay, so I was thinking about like switching them back to the front, but then, the registration stickers would be on the front instead of the back.
Doesn't matter. Even if the license plate is on the front, it has to be in good repair, and that would still be a violation. So you need to get 2 new license plates issued by DOT. Even if one goes bad, you got to replace both of them.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
You bet.
All right, thank you for the phone call. Again, that number is 885-4446 if you have a question for the Dodge County Sheriff here on Community Comments today. And Sheriff, with the time that we have left here this afternoon on our program, I want to take this opportunity to bring up a topic that's been in the headlines now for the last couple of weeks. You held a press conference a couple weeks ago highlighting an investigation that was ongoing at Waupun Correctional, investigating 4 inmates who had died at the prison there. It resulted in 9 members of the correctional staff there, including the warden, being charged with felonies in that case, and had made their initial appearance in court now. But want to also have this opportunity, at least to start this conversation off, really also focusing on the people who are in corrections and the difficult job that they have to do, and that there are a lot of really great people that do work in corrections. And I mean, you operate a jail, you know what it takes and know what it looks like. But just want to spend a few moments before we dive into this topic, just talking about and recognizing the efforts and hard work that correctional officers have to do on a day in and day out basis.
Yes, there are great, exceptional correctional officers in all of our correctional facilities. In my jail, in Waupun Correctional, Dodge Correctional, Fox Lake, at the Burke Center. We have four prisons and 1 jail here in Dodge County. We have excellent correctional officers that work in all of them. And so when we talk about this case, we don't want to villainize all correctional officers, because that's not the case. What we have in these instances is every correctional officer, law enforcement officer, is responsible for their own actions. Every correctional officer and law enforcement officer needs to make sure they have proper training, they have proper supervision to make sure that they can be successful in what they're doing. But at the end of the day, we all have responsibilities on our individual actions. Every single one of us, law enforcement and correctional officers, go through an academy. We all understand what the basics are for making sure that we keep the public safe or keep those in our custody safe. And that's where these arrests came into play. It was a very, very difficult investigation for us, but I don't want anybody to confuse what happened here as like this is everybody, and it certainly isn't. There are people that need to be held accountable because of actions they took or didn't take, and we had to do that.
Again, one of the highlights of the press conference, Sheriff, was looking at some oversight with the Department of Corrections and some issues that were noted during that investigation. How do you anticipate, have you had conversations since then with the DOC about implementing changes? I know a big part of this is staffing. I feel like a lot of this, people tend to boil this down to there just hasn't been enough staff to be able to appropriately and adequately implement a lot of these procedures and things at these prisons to make it as safe as they need to be. What do you hope to see in the next couple of months to make sure that these instances don't happen again?
Well, number one, staffing is a factor. It is not a reason for any of this. It is a factor. Yes, I can't deny that. However, many of the reasons why these charges were brought have nothing to do with staffing. The restricted housing unit which we were focused on, was fully staffed when they were operating and doing these things. Understandable, these people are working a lot of hours. I don't want to take that away from them. They're working a lot of hours, filling in a lot of different roles. I get all of that, but it was fully staffed to the point where they had people there doing those jobs because they have to. They have to have people in that area. The things that we saw were basic things not being accomplished. The rounds, making sure that you're doing a round every hour. Understandable, sometimes we're going to have issues where we can't, and that happens. Understandable. Making sure that people are being fed, making sure that they have water. Those are basic things that every correctional officer needs to make sure that they can do. What I saw in this investigation was those things weren't occurring, those weren't being documented, and then those documents were being falsified. Those are all very egregious offenses. They aren't one or two things that people make a mistake. Certainly there's training issues that play a part in this. When you don't have staff, can you train? It makes it more difficult, but if you don't train, and from a leadership standpoint, if you don't train, you put yourself out there for more liability, both criminally and civilly. And that's what we were seeing, is there's a lack of training, a lack of personal responsibility by some of the staff, a lack of training. Yes, the staffing was there, but then a lack of supervision. I was just talking to some teachers earlier this morning, and we were having a conversation about if and these are administrators of school districts. If we don't hold our teachers accountable, they're not going to have good students. It's the same thing. If we don't hold our correctional officers accountable, they're not going to maintain a prison the way we need to. We have a high level of accountability at the sheriff's office. If we have people that make mistakes, and they do, we correct those mistakes. If they continue, we take corrective action. If it's a training issue, we provide training. Those things were not happening. So some of that responsibility falls on the warden. And I'll tell you, my conversation with the warden was one of the most difficult conversations I've had to have, because he and I have known each other for a long time and worked together for a long time. It was very, very difficult. But it doesn't stop there. It goes to the secretary. The secretary and the administrator and the deputy secretary are all responsible to make sure that those things at the prison are occurring. Secretary Carr did not take responsibility for that. My conversation with Secretary Carr, he wanted to push that blame off on the warden. There's blame there, but it still goes up above. I can't push off that blame. If something happens in my jail, yeah, there's accountability there, but ultimately I, as the sheriff, am responsible. So is the Secretary of the Department of Corrections. He did not go to the prison to figure out what was going on, to find ways to resolve the issue or to come up with solutions. Above that, I said, I'm responsible as the sheriff. The governor is ultimately responsible for the Department of Corrections. He knew there was a problem, and he did not do anything related to these deaths to fix it. And that's where I have a problem. From the governor all the way down, we have a systematic problem. And to make matters worse, I was told by Secretary Carr on the conversation I talked about in the press conference that it was just Waupun. Well, then I learned that Green Bay Correctional has two very, very similar cases, which they were looking at very similar charges, abuse of penal residence. They didn't have enough there to charge on it, but they were very, very close. They issued very stern warnings. This is not isolated to Waupun Correctional. It's two correctional facilities, two very old correctional facilities. How does the secretary not take action to fix that? And I'm very, very frustrated. The ability to charge the secretary and the governor isn't necessarily there. I'm not saying it isn't, but at this point I haven't found it. The responsibility falls back to the warden in state statute. So that's, I see there's a leadership training issue from the top to the bottom, accountability from the top to the bottom, and then there's still personal accountability for those frontline staff. And that's why we had to take the action that we did and recommend the charges that we did.
You always are, even in the press conference, you said you don't like to just bring issues up front. You would like to also bring solutions and recommendations and figure out a way to make this situation fixable or change the situation for the better. And some of those recommendations you had given, at least two of them, were updating or repairing or fixing the restricted housing units at both Waupun and I believe Green Bay Correctional too, because you mentioned some of the issues there as well. Or on the flip side of that, closing both Waupun and Green Bay Correctional and building either one new prison or two new prisons Is there a path forward that you see being like, this is the one that makes the most sense? This is the one that we should really spend a lot of our time and effort on pursuing to fix this problem? Because I mentioned both of those prisons are one of the oldest prisons in the entire United States. I mean, those are problems that are baked into that building. That it's just not going to go away overnight.
Right.
There needs to be major changes. But what's the best approach to making those changes happen?
That's not the decision for me to make. If I were looking at it as a legislator or the governor, I would be strongly looking at replacing. But that's not my decision to make. I think there's options there. Yeah. But what you get with a new facility, some people say it's not the building, it's the people. Well, I disagree with that because the building has a big part of this. Yeah. When you have an old facility, a linear facility like you have with Waupun Correctional, you have a very limited ability to reduce the amount of staff that you need to operate that facility, first of all. Okay. If you were to build a new state-of-the-art facility, you would be able to reduce the mandatory, this is how many correctional officers we need to staff this facility. Imagine how many hours of overtime would be less by doing that. In addition to that, a state-of-the-art facility offers you the ability to better care for the staff that you have in that facility. Again, the linear style jail or prison, with the lack of being able to monitor with the camera systems, the medical needs are not necessarily being met because, just face it, the system that they have in place is very difficult to have interactions with those inmates. I get it. These are very difficult inmates and sometimes like to play the system. A lot of times like to play the system. But you cannot discount that when somebody has a complaint. And if you have a new facility with proper housing, with proper staffing, with proper ability to monitor, things are going to go a lot better, make things a lot easier for staff. And when you're in a reduced staffing capacity, you're able to do more. And so I think that really needs to be looked at. I think it needs to be studied. If they want to go in there and renovate, okay, maybe that's an option. Maybe you tear down some of those buildings inside and build new. Maybe that's an option. I understand the historical side of it. But I think at the end of the day, they need to really, really study what is the best option. Because right now what they're doing, the governor has said he does not want to build another prison. But what they're doing is inhumane to the inmates. And if you continue to keep the buildings as is, that will continue to be inhumane facilities for inmates within our state correctional facility. And I think the governor has a win here. You close down those two prisons, build one prison, you have a more humane facility for individuals who are able to get better care. Correctional officers are going to be in a better place to provide that care. And you're not going to have these types of situations. Provide better training for your staff. I think there are many, many opportunities here that the prior secretary just let go and didn't take action on where he probably should have. And I will say this about Secretary Jared Hoy. So far, I've had very positive communications with Secretary Hoy. He was a deputy secretary at the time, but he wasn't in charge. He has told me he is making sure he's at Waupun one day a week right now. He is taking an active interest in trying to make sure that the training is taking place. And so far what he's told me has been very positive. Obviously, they're going through a lot of rough time right now. What I do want the correctional officers out there to know is I am not coming back into the prisons looking to find more people to arrest. If there's new crimes, we will investigate it because we have to. But this case, it's open because it's open in the courts. I'm not continuing to do additional investigation unless something else comes to me. Then I have to. I don't want people walking on eggshells. I know they are because I'm going to come looking for additional. If they're in there doing their jobs the way they're supposed to be, they will have nothing to worry about.
Do you feel like this is something that you will continue to campaign for however long you are wanting to be a sheriff here in Dodge County? Because I feel you mentioned the governor has said that he's not a huge fan of building a brand new prison. I know some of the state legislatures have said it's difficult to repair some of the issues that are at least Waupun Prison just because of the age of that building, that it's not just as simple as putting up some new walls and building a new restricted housing unit. So how do you want to get this conversation to move forward, that something is done, but maybe the parties involved are not necessarily seeing a clear path forward on their end to make it happen. Do you see yourself campaigning for this for a while?
This is not going to go away anytime soon. I'm continuing to work with the FBI on looking into other issues that have been going on in the prison. This is going to be I predict, I don't know what's going to happen, but I predict this is going to be an extremely expensive ending for the state of Wisconsin. There are going to be a lot of civil lawsuits that will come and have already come, and I don't know how those are going to end out, but I can only assume that based on what I know that they're going to be very expensive. And I think that the state legislature, after seeing that, is going to say, we got to do something. And so we'll see where it goes. But I am going to continue to have conversations about this. I've already been speaking with Representative Schra, Representative Bourne. I'll be speaking with Senator Jagler and other representatives to make sure this continues to be at the forefront. I have also, and I'll be putting this out later, I have also sent a letter off to Attorney General Merrick Garland regarding all of this, in hopes that he will support the FBI in anything that they find in their investigations. And as we continue to work on this hand in hand, if there are civil rights violations, whether that be in the prison or all the way up to an elected official in the state, I'm hopeful that the U.S. Attorney General will follow through and allow his U.S. attorneys to hold people accountable for what they didn't do. And we have 4 people that are in the prison. Likely all 4 of them should be alive today.
Yeah. As we wrap this topic up, I just want to spend one more minute. You mentioned Secretary Jared Hoy, who's now leading the DOC, and you mentioned that there's been a lot of positive conversations with him, and there seems to be a focal point of coming from him to correct a lot of these issues. And it seems from your point of view, from where you're looking at things, that hopefully that people are going to be stepping in charge that will make sure that this problem doesn't repeat itself, and that people are on top of the ball, and that we don't have the same problem happening.
Yeah, there is a huge mountain for the Department of Corrections to climb right now, and we have a long ways to go. We have started bicycling forward up that mountain. We have a steep hill in front of us. We will continue to be great partners with the Department of Corrections, and I am hopeful that we can get things on track. It's going to take a long time, though.
Just make sure we bike on the right side of the road on that one.
Correct, yes.
It's a terrible joke to end community comment here, but I couldn't help myself. But I want to thank again our guest here on Community Comment this afternoon, Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt. Sheriff, thank you so much again for joining us today.
My pleasure. Have a happy and safe Independence Day, and we look forward to seeing you celebrating with sparklers.
All right. Well, on that note, that will do it for today's Community Comment.